Welcome to Dead Genre Chronicles, a critical podcast on the diversity of JRPGs. Drawing from the origin of the genre to the present day, every month we play through a JRPG and we invite you to play along and send us your questions and thoughts on it. I'm Devin, and I'm glad that the Luminous Arc of history is short and bends away from Image Epic.
I'm Becky. I can't remember whether Lethe is a forest or a river.
I'm Leroy, and I'm the Game Pope.
We already have a Doritos Pope. But you're the Game Pope specifically.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Just video games.
So, this month we're going to be talking about Luminous Arc, which is a tactical RPG from Image Epic, which is a now-defunct studio, featuring a party of children raised to be the henchmen of the world's religion. And obviously it doesn't really work out for the church, given that this game is a very unsurprising JRPG.
The first line I wrote was, Luminous Arc is a video game, and I just left it there.
That sums it up. Where do we want to start? Because, I think most of the things we could say about the form of this game are just kind of... It would sound like we're describing some stereotypical generic JRPG.
Well,
Yes,
specifically a generic TRPG, but, that's exactly what it is. It's kind of Disgaea and FF Tactics with the rough edges shaved off, or not so much the rough edges shaved off as the distinguishing edges shaved off.
Tactics simplified.
Yeah, and honestly, most of the things they took out relative to Tactics are good calls. It doesn't have quite the same nonsense.
I don't know, I need bravery and faith, or it's just not the same.
It has a more straightforward set of line of sight mechanics, thank God.
Yeah, the question I had when I got about 3/4 of the way through this was, why wouldn't anyone just play Disgaea? And the answer is Disgaea DS didn't come out until a year after this.
Fair enough. I mean, it definitely doesn't have any of Disgaea's character. And I don't just mean kind of narrative or humor. I mean, Disgaea is defined by this kind of sneakiness. You're expected to exploit weaknesses in the system, and that matches up perfectly with the narrative stuff, whereas there is nothing in Luminous Arc to make it preferable that it's a tactical RPG than a more traditional JRPG. The mode of interaction and passage through the world doesn't actually enhance the game in any way.
Yeah.
Or doesn't enhance the narrative in any way, let's say.
I mean, it allows for more characters to have a role, but they're not very interesting characters, and they don't have they rarely have lines that mean anything despite talking all the time.
Yeah.
Even within battle, there's not a huge amount of individuation. You have some characters who are pure melee characters, and you have some characters who are casters.
And don't forget the ranged characters, like Theo and the lamp girl, Vivi.
I mean, I used her exclusively as a caster, but...
Yeah, but she still can attack from range.
Yeah.
She has a lamp gun.
She has a lamp gun. It's like an Aladdin genie's lamp, but it's a gun, and she can turn it into a sniper rifle with her supers, which is, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it does have its little bits of quirky charm here and there. I feel like we're starting off quite negatively. To be completely clear, I quite enjoyed this game. It's not earth-shattering and it's not revolutionary, but it's not bad.
It's a genre piece.
It's just nothing for me. The entire time I was just thinking, man, I have a Disgaea PC file I could be getting back to. Especially once the angel shows up. And it's just okay, this is 2007 anime take on edgy angel, and she's just a fucking Valley Girl nonsense. Ugh.
She is really annoying.
I liked it a lot until you got to the part where you had to just find L'Epistier, and it was kind of formless and loose. And also a lot of the character arcs were pretty much resolved by that point too, but you still had to do 10 chapters. And
yeah,
I don't know what you're doing here.
The back half of the game goes on way too long and does a whole bunch of pointless stuff. I guess... I mean, do you want to stick with mechanics for now, or do you want to go on to narrative, or...
There's not a lot to explain either way.
I'm just gonna say the narrative is basically these kids were raised to fight witches because of the church. They go and fight a witch. Then they realize that witches aren't inherently evil. They become traitors, and then they work with the witches to destroy the church because the church is trying to revive an evil god. That's the entire plot.
Yeah, I mean, it's very typical JRPG, but... I think it shows what's good about the way that JRPGs approach Crises of Faith that you completely wouldn't see with a Crisis of Faith story in a Western game, right? Because, and this is more true of a game like FF10, which does the same story but much better, but it's still true of Luminous Arc. These are characters who start off as true believers, as fundamentally motivated by their faith and not really questioning it in any way, and over the course of the game, they gain doubts, and they encounter crises of faith. And in Luminous Arc, it's ruined every time by the villain showing up one level too early to gloat. So they never actually get the chance to make the decision, right? They will start to go, oh, well, can we be sure that we're doing the right thing? They will start to have that conversation, but they won't reach any conclusions before Cardinal Kingsley shows up cackling.
Or the stand-in for whoever he's sent for him.
Too often it is Cardinal Kingsley himself, which is stupid. He's a really bad villain.
Yeah, he's the game pope, the in-universe game pope, and he's very bad at pope.
He's incredibly bad at pope.
Okay, I will say this. Whoop, did Leroy just drop? Yep, Leroy just dropped.
Hello?
Hey, there we go.
Audacity recovered my audio,
yeah.
Yeah.
I just hit record again.
Okay, I will make that work. I'm just sorting through my newly arrived writing utensils and such. Let's find where we were. I haven't stopped recording. Nobody stopped recording, or at least we restarted.
When my computer got shut off, Becky was talking about the crisis of faith, but Luminous Arc, but the villains gloat, and then my computer shut off.
Yeah, we talked about how bad the villain was for a while after that, and the point I actually wanted to make was, if you told a story about religious people in the West, it would go one of two ways. Either they would be true faithful who turned out to be right, their religion turned out to be the force for good, and whatever they were fighting against turned out, yes, unequivocally to be evil.
Star Wars.
Yes. Or the religion would be evil, but the character would be somebody who had always known that there was something wrong with it, and had maybe gone along with it in good faith, in like good behavior, but not in like wholehearted faith, and had always been a rebel against the system, because the Western understanding is that characteristics have to be innate. You can't change over time in terms of your religious views. Either you're a heathen all along, or you're a faithful all along, and that's got to be the right way to be through and through for you to be a good person. Whereas the Japanese version of this story, where I've experienced it, has always been people change, and you know, I think in many ways what JRPGs are really good at is having slower change over time, rather than like the Hollywood plot twist at the end of Act 2, where suddenly everything is resolved and the characters now know what to do and they just have to go and fight. So Luminous Arc doesn't do a particularly uniquely good job of that faith story, but because it's coming from a culture that's got a more mature attitude to faith anyway, it does a much better job than we would do, I think.
That's a fair assessment, I think.
Something,
go ahead.
Just gonna say something unique about it or to it is kind of how pulpy, I guess the word would be how anime it is about it. Like, the church is unambiguously evil, but then they own up to it too. Like, the Pope is like someone who'd like kill children for his god kind of thing, even though he's trying to be the god. That doesn't work out for him.
Mm.
And everything's turned up to 11. In a way, I felt to like give you the catharsis of turning on like the old order or something that you're conflicted about or raised on, but they remove any gray area or any nuance and just say this is evil. You're going to destroy it.
Yeah, but I mean, by that token, it does a good job of showing the extent to which people can believe in systems that are evil without realizing how evil they are, which is a really important realization to be having in the modern era.
Yeah, basically.
Like, the characters start off completely enthralled to this system, and the game takes seriously the kind of psychological commitment that involves. Although some of that turns out to be because Cecile is uncomfortable going to the forest, not because she's just uncomfortable with the faith stuff, but because she's secretly a witch and she doesn't know, which is less impressive.
I don't even understand the timeline of that. There's two things where the timeline didn't necessarily make sense to me. I don't understand when Cecile gave herself amnesia and lived as an orphan child, because that's like, I don't know when this could have happened. That would have made sense. And I don't understand when Heath apparently was realizing the church was evil all along and was investigating it too.
That's the point. Actually, all of that stuff I said is kind of invalidated by the fact that Heath is the Western version of that character.
Yes, yes.
Where he kind of goes, I was just pretending to be completely a faithful person, and I knew there was something wrong all along, and you finally put me in a position where I can be free. Yeah, but what I thought the game was going to do through the first half, where it was building up to the point at which the characters change faction, I thought it was going to be that when you bring that arc full circle, they confront Heath. And either they've got to decide to fight him, and say, okay, he's wrong and we're right, and we've got to be adults now because our mentor is wrong, or they would have some way of persuading him. And either of those would be cool, but
yeah, those would have been better.
Kind of tries to do the fight one, except that then it completely undercuts it by having him go at the end, I knew all along, and I was just fronting.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude.
Luminous Arc pulls all of its punches.
Yeah, I think it would have been interesting. Like, they try to do the thing where the Pope tricks Iris into thinking that Party killed Heath, and it would have been more interesting if they actually had, and they had to just deal with the consequences of that. But it's just undercut by how attempting to be a feel-good story this is overall.
At the end of Tactics, Ramza has to fight all his brothers, the Beowulfs, in a kind of the actual thing we're talking about. Where Ramses, the whole time, where at one point was fighting for the honor of his family, and then later he has to confront his family and actually kill them.
Except that even there, by the time he's fighting for the honor of his family, he's long since abandoned it.
Yeah.
The personal conflict there isn't matched by the, if you like, the political conflict.
Also, the Zodiac Stone takes over that scene immediately after too.
That's true. Honestly, probably the best example is FF10, right? Where there's no fight against characters that were previously sympathetic to. There are a couple of times where it threatens to, like when you confront the Ronso before going to Mount Gagazet, but it never bothers with the actual fight because FF10's writers are confident enough to just carry it off in the cutscene.
FF10 is good.
FF10 is very good, although even then, FF10 still has the same problem this game has because Seymour can't completely resist showing up to chew on the scenery occasionally.
At some point, it feels like the Pope's popping up everywhere, though, and then he's just... I don't even know what he's doing.
It's like, the game makes it so laborious for you to get around the continent, and then this fucking old man can just be everywhere. Whenever called upon. This just... Why?
Or especially whenever not called upon, because he can fuck off.
Yeah.
I actually liked how they drew him kind of as an unassuming NPC that you kind of just write off at first. But then he has that heel turn, and then he opens his eyes, and they're just really evil looking eyes.
He's also got this weird smirk.
Yeah.
Whatever his emotional state, his mouth is the flat line with the upturn at one end. And it's what is this face? You can tell it's not a terribly high budget game.
And also, DS trying too hard game.
Yeah.
It has an anime intro. Or an OP with a song, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's literally the only thing that's animated in the entire game. Everything else is stills. And you can't rotate the camera in battle, which is a fucking problem.
That's actually a disgrace. That was bad.
It's just...
That kind of oversight is you play the game for a couple minutes and you immediately want to turn the camera. I don't know how they just didn't have that.
Image Epic, yay! This is why they're bankrupt and non-functional anymore.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's a very simple game, but it's solid. I mean, the experience curve is bad in the second half. It ramps up really, really badly, and grinding is really difficult. Except, and we should record this for posterity, it's one of these games where the amount of XP to level up is a flat figure. It's always 100 XP, and the growth in cost of leveling up is supposed to be the higher level you are, the higher level enemies you need to fight in order to gain XP. And you gain XP per action, and different actions give different amounts of XP, and there are actions that are friendly actions, which obviously can't be affected by enemy level in the same way. So the XP never gets reduced for friendly actions.
It's a flat 5%, 5 XP for any self buff on a unit, and a flat 30 I'd say percent because that's how much of a level it is, but it's flat 30 XP for a buff or heal applied to any other friendly unit.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, in some cases, where it's an area of effect buff or heal, you can cast it on yourself provided it also hits someone else.
Yep.
And get the 30 XP, which means that any caster who has a buff or a heal can get a level every 4 actions.
And then
ad infinitum.
when you level up, your HP and MP are refilled.
Yep. So to level the characters that I decided I wanted to use, what I did was go to the lowest level area I could reach and cast the same heal and buff spells on my party for an hour, at which point I came away with like level 7, I guess level 60-ish was the point at which I got bored, and then I gained another 10 levels over the rest of the game, just by throwing in the odd extra cast of a heal or a buff.
Yeah, like, I mentioned in the mod chat fairly early on in my playthrough, which was after basically both of you finished the game, because life hit. But basically, like, it has the kind of tactics thing where turn order is determined by your speed, and you can, I'll say supposedly, because it doesn't feel like it does anything, like speed up your next turn by either not moving or not taking an action. And it really doesn't feel like it does anything. I mean,
I think I could tell when it was having an effect. Like, there were times where I was surprised by when somebody popped up in the order, and then I was like, oh no, wait, I told them to wait last turn. That's why.
Well,
I never looked at the stack, so I don't know.
I didn't either, but like, the only time I noticed it was with really high-speed characters. Because, like, it's just like the fraction is too low on most other people to be noticeable in most situations.
Yeah.
And if I was gonna do that as a mechanic, I'd have it be a huge number. It would be hard to balance around, but I'd do it so, like, I don't know, if you didn't take one action, you got 1.4 times your speed, or something. And then if you didn't take either action and you just waited, you get like 1.6 or something. So it was like really noticeable. This game does not have it that high, and it's usually only useful on characters that would go rather quickly anyway. And part of the problem, especially early on, is that a lot of your characters are noticeably slower, like Nikolai, who, like, I was mainly using because I hadn't decided to cheat my way through the game yet and couldn't just, like, have other people carry the weight. And Cecile are both pretty slow at the start of the game. And, like, they couldn't get enough turns to get levels, and I had to grind extra because of that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I noticed it most because I was using Vivi a lot, who is the Wind Witch, and thus has very high speed anyway, and she ended up my highest level character at, like, over level 70. So I got extra effects.
Yeah.
Well, like I say, I just, lots and lots of chain casting buffs, and then using her a lot.
Yeah, which also, if you're chain casting buffs with the fastest witch, she's gonna get more levels, because that's how the things turn out.
Yeah.
I do want to clarify, yes, I cheated through this game, because once I heard that the efficient way to grind is to just buff and buff and buff and buff and buff and buff and buff, I was just like, you know what? I want to have a more interesting battle party than that, and also I'm crunched for time. So by the end of the game, I had sorted out, like, I cheated my money to max, so I never needed it for money, and I had instant level up, which just constantly set the first 5 characters I deployed to have 99 XP at all times, and then any action would level them up. And honestly, that made the back half's level curve just, like, flow perfectly, which is fuck.
Yeah, the back half, it gets so stupid towards the end.
And I definitely think it's because they didn't know how to pad out this incredibly short game.
Yeah, like, the back half should have been 4 levels. Like, it didn't really need Leon's story, it didn't really need the stuff with Heath, and you could have just gone straight to the cathedral and fought God there, rather than having to go to this
You gotta go to the center of the world.
First you got to go to the secret forgotten continent
The
and
desert.
cross that to get to the gate that leads you to the way to the center of the world.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you fight the final boss on one of the platforms that you fight super bosses in Duskaya, because that's all that place looks like. It's just like, oh, here's a pillar, and here's, like, Marjorie sitting there, and fight her now. Okay. That's all that brought to mind for me, because this just made me think of this guy the entire time, and that's why I don't like this game.
It is just, in many ways, a poor man's Disgaea.
The equipment system extremely sucked in Luminous Arc.
Yeah.
I'm so advocating for just doing no equipment if you're just gonna make it like, every other chapter everyone has to buy 5 new pieces of armor and a new weapon.
Yeah.
Also, the equipment creation, the crafting system sucks ass. It's the worst.
It's just,
I didn't even bother with it. I don't know what it does.
Me neither. I looked it up because I was just like, okay, so I can't just like freestyle craft these stats onto this weapon? What the fuck?
Yeah, I tried doing that.
And the thing is, it's basically just like specific recipes that the game never tells you that you have to put together from hints that the 2 apprentices give you, and if you follow through on them, you get some items that are like better than normal. But you need specific weapons and specific bits of rune, and then you put those together, and it's just like, okay, you got a special item. But it sucks. Like I tried it, and then I looked it up, and it was awful. So I was no, you're done. I'm gonna cheat.
yeah, there's not really a tutorial for it in game. The game doesn't communicate anything to you about what you need to do with this system.
Yeah.
And from what you said, what it actually does communicate to you is pretty misleading, because all I did was put some extra numbers on my gear. And I was like, oh, those sound like decent numbers, I'll put those on my gear. And no idea if it made a difference at all, frankly.
You get a lot of those runes, too. Just like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah, like, the fucking game starts with you choosing, like, you choose one of fucking 6, I think, or 7 options that are just like, oh, here are different, what word resonates with you? And it's just like, I don't fucking know, what does this matter? And then later on, it's the starter set for the, like, rune shit you get. That's what it changes.
I was, like, worried about that choice, and then I read what it does, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
So I didn't care.
And it's, like, halfway through the game! And it's just like, fuck! And then it ended up not even being worth it.
And the fact that there's only one location in the world where you can actually do equipment customization.
And you can't warp around!
And you get random battles randomly if you walk into the random battle spaces.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a tactical RPG with a world map that there are specific paths linking different battlefields.
Basically, like Fire Emblem 8, Sacred Stones, has that. And it's also... Yeah.
FF Tactics.
I mean, that too.
I mean, it's basically exactly like FF Tactics. It was a bad idea in FF Tactics, and it's a bad idea here. I mean, it's not like Disgaea. Disgaea, you just pick from a menu. You never have to go through one level to return to another.
And also, you have a home base that you just warp out from, which is better.
They make you backtrack like 2 times in Luminous Arc, and you're just like rolling the dice if you have to fight the random battles or not. But like a random battle in tactical RPG is like a 30-minute affair, right? It's not like...
Yeah.
But yeah.
Like, this game is very short, but it's also very trudgy. Like, you just have to trek through these stupid random encounters.
There's not a lot of strategy involved either, I found. Like, the biggest strategies I'd pull off is move my entire party in one direction, so the monsters on the other side of the map would have to walk farther. That's
it does a lot of kind of maps that are functionally donuts, where like you're on one side of them and the enemy's on the other, and there are 2 paths between you, and you're supposed to do the obvious thing of going both sides, and if you just move all your party to one side, then the enemy that are on the other side, like the far corner of the map, take twice as long to get to you.
Yeah.
Which is a massive help.
There's very few party members that are self-sufficient too.
Yeah.
So, like, you have to do something like that, because if you try to pincer or you try to, like, flank or just send someone out to anything, they'll just die.
Yeah.
And actually, at some point, I used Saki through a lot of the game, but her job was like, oh, I don't want this caster doing things, so run up there and die. That's just what I did with her.
Saki is unfortunately really weak. But I mean, the other thing that's terrible with it, you can't choose where to deploy your dudes.
It's so bad.
Like,
I literally save stated. I started save stating before I decided to cheat, which is like, well, fuck it. I have infinite health. I don't need to worry about positioning. I just like, I save stated. It was like, okay, where are each of these positions going to start me? And loaded it back, which is fuck. That's so bad. Why would you do that?
To say what they're saying, you have to like select what party members you're going to use in the battle, and the order you select them in dictates where they're going to be on the map, which is that's stupid.
There are 15 characters you have to pick. It's usually 8. Occasionally it's less. And the 8 picks in your order will correspond to starting squares on the map. But the game will not tell you which slot is where before you make the choice.
Yeah.
So you're effectively choosing blind. I would have safe stated, but it seemed like it would be a colossal fucking chore to like note down the order that I picked characters in, go in, work out which order was which character was which spot.
Yeah, it was a pain. Back and, I only did it for like 4 chapters, and then
half
I
the
cheated.
time it doesn't matter because you're just in one clump. But there's some maps where 4 people are on one side, 4 people on the other side, and you're like, really? I didn't want all my mages in one spot next to all the monsters.
Yeah, not to mention it's basically like any map in Tactics where Ramza is arbitrarily somewhere completely fucking different from the rest of the party, except that's every fucking map. And also, sometimes they just split up, like, there's the one map where you have to protect Lucia, and she and fucking Alf are just somewhere fuck off in the middle of a bunch of enemies. It's just like, fuck this game.
That one is at least set up by the plot. Right?
Yeah, I know, but it still sucks.
It's a pain to play with.
Also, I'm going to complain, this game has, like, a thing. It's like, here's the objective. You can open the system menu and look at the objective. There are only fucking, like, there's one time where the objective...
There's 3 objectives.
There's 3 objectives. 2 of them are the same with one having an extra fail condition. But the third one is you have to get 2 people on either side of a target, and it's Vivi, the Wind Witch. So she moves around a lot. She gets plenty of turns compared to you, and it's awful. That game of tag sucked.
Total fucking chore. But yeah, I mean, why don't they have more maps that have different win conditions? It's a wasted opportunity. It's always kill everything.
It's always kill everything, even on boss maps, which is like the entire point of all the witches having like mooks, minions, things to get in your way is to protect them. If they go down, every one of their fucking minions should drop. And they don't, because this game is not designed well.
Well, in the plot, like 9 out of 10 times, the boss doesn't actually die in the plot either, so...
Yeah, but, like, if they're out of the running, they should be out of the running entirely.
A funny thing is, like, when I fought the last boss, the first phase, I killed God before I killed the angels. We still have to clean up all the angels after God's dead. It's like, alright.
Yeah, but, like, there's kill all enemies and don't let the specific person, this specific unit of yours, die. Which I think is always Lucia.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Because this game has opinions on women.
Yeah.
I think it's Aleph and Lucia at the second part when Alf turns into a rim, but whatever.
Well, I mean, the whole point with that is, like, Alf is supposed to be protecting Lucia, so if he can't protect Lucia, he failed.
Mm.
Another cowardly thing is the Dragon Boys aren't Dragon Boys. They're just humans that are called dragons.
Yeah. I did like, though, that when Alf starts unlock... So, Alf gets a bunch of special moves that are just his ordinary special moves that he's trained in.
He has gun.
He's a gun knight.
Yeah. Halfway through the game, you get this revelation that he's actually a dragon, so he gets a bunch of dragon powers. And all his gun powers are basic attack forms, like attack a target, attack at range, attack an area. But all his dragon powers are, like, healing and protection.
Yep.
Which, like, that's a nicely observed touch.
And it coincides with him, like, leaving the church, and now he can protect his friends.
Yeah. Occasionally it does something right.
Yeah. By sheer numbers, it was going to do something right.
Yeah.
Alf's a stupid character, though. I don't like him.
Alf is stupid.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
I like Theo, and I like how he doesn't get any... I'm pretty sure he doesn't get any flash drives. Which is not like the USB stick, but like that's the super move name.
That phrase was bothering me the entire game, and I've only just realized why.
Once he gets cursed into the dragon form, he can use his flash drives. Which
Yeah,
are all melee ranged, and it's so dumb.
they're all melee range, and they all use his dragon form, but it's like he doesn't get any supers until then, and you're just like, he's good though.
It's also weird that his dragon form is like, oh, I have dragon claws, but like they never turn into dragons ever. I don't understand what was happening there, and I don't think the writers did either.
Well, again, I think it's a budget thing, probably.
I mean, you assume he's going to accelerate to turn into an entire dragon under the control of Vanessa.
Yeah.
But when Aleph gets his Rem powers, there's no dragon form involved.
Yeah.
I just wanted a dragon, okay?
Yeah, it would have been more interesting.
Fair enough. But can you imagine what it'd been trying to move a dragon around these battlefields?
It'd be okay if it was like a Breath of Fire 4 dragon where there's still one space-sized. Where it's just more like Dragonoid or Dragonkin.
Yeah.
They turn into a whelp.
Just fucking give him like twice the move speed. Jesus. Like, holy shit, the move speeds in this game are so low. Like, give me like, I don't know, 6 squares and I'll be fucking ecstatic. Which is fucked, because that's the norm for most... Well, 5 is the norm in Disgaea. But also, that's a game designed worth of shit, so...
This is just us complaining about how much more we like Disgaea than this game.
I'm not gonna bullshit anyone. I'm 100% being honest when I was just like, why didn't anyone just play Disgaea DS? Because I know that was a thing, even though it wasn't terribly good. And the answer was, it came out a year later. So, like, I can't super blame anyone for getting into this if a DS was their only option.
When did we read someone saying Luminous Arc is one of the greatest JRPGs ever released?
I don't fucking know!
I feel like I read that.
Did we?
I feel like I read that. Was it the Crystal Designs guy?
I don't know.
Well, for everyone listening, it's not the greatest JRPG ever released.
It's not.
Spoiler alert.
You can take a hard pass on it, honestly. Like, I think even Becky would agree you're probably better off than skipping this. Even though
It's
she liked it.
very difficult to find a reason to play it.
If you play Kimco games, go ahead, play it.
Fuck.
I play Kimco games, so I'm like, yeah.
Don't sabotage Camco like that, Leroy.
I've played Kimco games, so it's the same.
Just play FF10 instead. It's more accessible and it's a better game. And it's less of a pain in the ass.
What else is there to talk about with this game, I guess?
We could do wrap-ups.
Honestly, like, yeah. This is going to be a super short episode.
I mean, I have, like, my closing comment on the game. It's not that much, so...
I mean,
I
go
feel
for
like
it.
I had something else I wanted to pick up, but I can't remember what it was.
I mean, I like the game. I usually don't like... Well, no, I don't know. Like, I think the more generic or more genre-like a game is, I try to look for more in the margins and try to read into the game. There wasn't actually a lot to read into in this game, though, still. But I still found it comforting, because I'm from a multi-generational, really strict Christian family. And, I mean, growing up, it was just really hard to come to terms with, I don't agree with a lot of this doctrine. I don't agree with these people. And, as Becky said, in, like, modern times, it's actually a pretty... I mean, it's a contemporary theme still. Like, for me as an American, the majority of Christians put Republicans in office. So American Christianity is unambiguously white supremacist. And when it comes to like abandoning faith or going against your faith, like actively fighting against it, I think Luminous Arc is a good character in anguish that struggle. The game puts a lot of, like I was saying earlier, the game puts a lot of effort making sure the player knows that the church is evil and there's no doubt about it, and you don't need to like worry about it that much either. And I actually liked the lack of worry and the lack of like usually I'm all for nuance and I'm all for it. Well, like they're people too, kind of thing. But this time I'm like, no, like these fucks are evil, and I'm gonna kill God.
Yeah.
And like it's like a really strong blunt message. Like if something is eating the world, it doesn't matter if that thing is provided for your well-being or raised you or shaped your person. You got to get rid of it. And I mean, the game is just pulling out all the stops for people you love and killing God, and that's cool. I'm fine. That was a good game.
Yeah, like I think it's a game that earns a lot of goodwill in its thematic stuff that it totally doesn't deliver on in its like narrative or its game design.
It's not an engaging game to play, but if you're already like okay with all the boring things it's doing, it's not going to be unsatisfying.
It's not going to be unsatisfying is the best thing you can say about this, honestly. And like that's not even true for me personally, because like this game is just kind of drab for me.
I liked a lot of its art, and I liked its music.
I couldn't play it with the music because it didn't run well on emulator.
I mean, sometimes I just want to kill God. And not in like a, not in a way where it's like, oh no, should we really be killing God? This game's like, no, you're gonna kill God. That guy's evil.
Yeah, I get that. Just for me, it was just kind of drab and didn't have any of the like catharsis of grinding. And even before I opted out, I don't know. It didn't really do anything for me.
I guess I kind of want to tie what Leroy said back to the thing I was saying about the start about portrayals of faith. Because this is clearly a game that is aware of the stereotype that the religion is evil. Like, it sets you up with these characters. And when I started playing the game, I found myself kind of looking for the obvious things about, oh, this religion is evil. And they're there, but it's only enough to tell you this is the shape the story's going to take. It never gets didactic about it, again, in a way that a Western movement atheist narrative would. Which is, like, it would show you from the start that this religion keeps slaves and farms people and blah, 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 without any reflection on capitalist structures that did that. In this case, it's just, well, this religion is the capitalist power structure of its culture.
The religion tries to keep a good face, too. It's like, the party has to work to find the parts that are clearly corrupt, even though the game makes it really clear.
Which, again, is useful nuance, even if it's not really delivered on down the line. I guess maybe that's what we want to say about the game. It's a good introductory portrayal of like how to think of systems of power in culture. It just doesn't really have a program for solving them, because everything is resolved by a bad guy turning up and cackling and thus absolving your characters of having to make complicated decisions. And as we have seen from the last year, even when a bad guy turns up cackling, we're bad at responding to that appropriately.
Yeah. It had a good foundation, and the materials were probably good, but the craftsmen at the table didn't do a great job at turning them into what it needed to be.
I mean, the game's a crowd pleaser. They didn't try that hard. It just looks like they wanted to make a strategy RPG, and then they did all the things that makes a strategy RPG, then left it.
Yep. So we have some questions.
Oh, good.
We have 3 questions. Let's start with this one from Ramen Hime. Thoughts on the team's spiritual successor / legally distinct bootleg Stella Glow? Haven't played it.
Didn't VGK wrote a big blog post on Stella Glow, and he came down very hard on it.
Think so, yeah.
Sam,
I remember Sam talking about it
a lot. I think he reviewed it for someone, so it might be that. Like, he seemed to like it.
VGK did not like Stella Glow. I know, that's different people. I think a lot of the problems that I'm summing up what VGK wrote, if it's right. I want to look it up though, but I can't. My keyboard doesn't work on this laptop. Yes, I found it. Sorry. I have a mouse keyboard for when I want to use this laptop. But yeah, I kind of remember it. I'll just summarize what I remember, and this is just someone else talking about it now. But he said there was a lot of like interiority for the characters, basically the idol witches who sing, but the game really fetishized their pain in a way that seemed like really post Madoka, but in a way that just like it didn't seem really sensitive, right? It was just kind of like I don't know, like they just wanted to have a zoo or show off like all these tragic heroines, and it just happened over and over again in similar ways, and he didn't like that. And also that there's still the self-insert male harem protagonist guy who soaks up everyone else's everything, and the whole unit revolves around him, even though he doesn't do anything and doesn't have a personality.
That sounds like Alpha, right?
Yeah, and a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of tropey writing, and the game doesn't have a lot of ambition in the end. That's what I remember from reading VGK's write-up.
Actually, I'll say this for Alf. He's so boring and bland and uninvolved in the story that even though he is that character, it didn't really annoy me that much because I didn't notice it.
Yeah, I actually was able to ignore Aleph completely, which is alright.
The fucking pervert character, on the other hand,
Nikolai fucking sucks.
Nikolai fucking sucks. It keeps going too. Like, it's not like that first joke. It's like every single time all the witches are together, Nikolai is going to say something. It's just like, alright.
And also, he can't even fucking leave Cecile and Leon alone to have a nice, cute couple moment because he's a dickhead.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
My brother's been playing Stella Glow, though, and he says the strategy RPG aspects of it are a lot better than Luminous Arc, and they really stepped up their game on making like compelling and engaging. Like, the characters are different.
They did have like 3 games of improvement. Like, there was 2 more Luminous Arc games.
Right. So that's all hearsay from other people.
Yeah.
I haven't played it. I don't know if I ever want to play it. I'm kind of over girls to sing, and that's like the thing they're selling the game on.
Yeah.
I'm over idol stuff.
No idols, no kings, no gods. This is DGC. I hate that I just made that joke. It's been brewing in the back of my head for like fucking 2 years, and I just haven't had an excuse to make it. Okay. The second part of this question, how little hope do y'all have for 3 in Infinity to be picked up for localization in the said emoji? I don't have any because 3 is a DS game and Infinity is a Vita game based on a series that was on DS that didn't sell.
They haven't been localized? No, they're not coming out.
No.
Don't worry, in 10 years someone will fan translate them.
Yeah, probably.
that one person who thinks that Luminous Arc is the greatest JRPG ever made will arrange for them to be localized.
Yeah, you'll get the obviously alt-right guy. He'll translate the games for you.
And then injects all the politics, like that designs guy.
Yeah, we'll get some damn Obama in our Luminous Arc.
Okay. And a final parenthetical. For the record, I did like the first game and Stelago a lot, but found it rather superficially satisfying on all levels.
Sounds right.
Yeah. Okay, so the next 2 questions are from @Where's My Gift on Twitter. Sup, IF88, Why Not Will, and Trey at Pen Pounds. I got right to the last battle in this game before losing the cartridge for it. While I did approach the battles in this game strategically, there were some battles where I felt like I would just brute force it and win the battle. Did you lot ever feel like at some point it was easy to kind of disregard the strategy?
Yeah.
So I did a low level challenge, but again,
I mean, you did relative to us.
Well, no. I mean, for real, I'd pick out the lowest level party members each time, and I'd shift my party. And so, I didn't do a low level challenge, but I did a lower level challenge.
You did a party rotation challenge,
right? Which in a strategy game, you're gonna just be really low level.
Yep.
And so I found that again, the bulk of the actual strategy you can do is just move away from the monsters, try to funnel them to one place, and then AoE them. And that's basically Turtle, Brute Force, it's the same thing, but takes a longer time. No, there's no strategy to the game. And yeah, you just hit them.
Yeah, the strategy I went with as a dirty cheater with infinite MP and HP was I brought in Alf, and then Vanessa, Claire, Cecile, and I bounced between Vivi and Mel. Because all of them, at various points, had giant AoEs that I could use. So I just burned everything down and hit everything with thunder and used Alf to run around and finish off weak enemies. And because I was playing with cheats on, I got to ignore all the strategy of not hitting your own teammates. So I just nuked everything forever, and it was the most satisfying way to play this game.
I mean, when Leon hits level 48, which isn't that high, honestly, because I had to finish the game. Well, no, it's 46, and I had to finish the game at level 50. He gets an ability that lets him do 400, 800 damage, and it doesn't cost that much of his mana. So, they didn't, make you want to leverage all your party members equally. They're use Aleph, use Leon, use some healers, and brute force it, which is not... they didn't use the diversity of their characters very well, and they didn't care about the strategy aspect of the strategy RPG.
Yeah.
Which, like Becky said at the beginning of the cast, why wasn't this just a normal RPG? It probably would have been better.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have enough money to design that many environments, probably.
It's just a lot of environments for strategy RPG too, but then again, you could just have I don't know. I guess it is less, isn't it? I'm thinking about it.
It feels less. I don't know how justified that assumption is.
I think that is definitely more economical over a 20-hour game. It's not a very long game either.
They made fucking 4 tile sets, and then they made a few maps out of each of them, and that's how the game is built.
Damn, it is a Kimco game.
The second part of this question. Also, I can't be the only one who thought the way they say Lapis here and the voice acting in general was weird, right? I turned the voice acting off. So
I turned the voice acting off, so I can't comment.
The voice acting sucked. They said it weird. I probably would say it bad too, though. I'd probably be like, Lapistiers. Let's go get the Lapistier. Wait, no, I'd say Lapister. Hey guys, where's the Lapister at? And they're like, what?
You literally, right? This podcast, you said Lapistier, which is not how I'd say it.
That's how they say it in the dub.
That's awful.
That's how they say it. It's Lapistier. That's how.
I literally would have probably read Lapis tier as a weird transliteration of lapis tier from the mother lapis.
It's consistent. Like, every single person who opens their mouth to say La Picier says La Picier.
That's fucked.
So yeah, that's what Odai's talking about.
Also, he says, I'm looking forward to being the monster under the DGC bed for another year.
Glad to have
Pretty
you.
much.
Yeah. And also the second question from Odai. Fess up, who were the witches you decided to pair up with? I know at least one of you got with Vanessa. Mavi. Fuck you, Vanessa's bad.
I paired up with Lucia and Cecile. Sorry, just canon ships.
Because I did loads of grinding, so I got more opportunities to do relationship stuff. So I had like 4 blue hearts by the end, which was, I think it was Lucia, Cecile, Saki. I was working on Mavi, but I didn't complete her.
Odai almost got me though. I started Vanessa's, but I did Theo first. I did Theo's, and I started Vanessa's, and I finished the game.
Yeah, the fucking Mavi's so good, though. Muscle Witch.
We didn't actually mention at any point that there's a knockoff relationship score system in this game.
Yeah.
It's because it sucks, just like the other systems.
It's really, really shallow.
Yeah, basically after every battle, you get to chat with one of your units that you used in the battle that isn't Alf. And then if you say the right thing, you get more points with them. And then after 10 scenes with them, you don't get to say anymore.
I didn't know what was going on, so I picked Leon, and then I had to do Leon's first.
Yeah.
You do get a CG for Leon's, though, at least.
I got the one for Theo, which is adorable, because Theo is a good boy.
The one for Lucia at the end of it is a fucking
It's a hot spring
scene. It's
for no reason.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
On that note, this is more of the question. On that note, thinking about the relationship mechanics in the game, while it's not influential, so to speak, am I wrong in thinking that Luminous Arc laid the ground for games like Fire Emblem to explore having relationship mechanics in these kind of games, arbitrary or otherwise?
Fire Emblem did it first.
Yeah, Fire Emblem, literally, Genealogy of the Holy War, which is the game that introduced the weapon triangle, which is like the only thing people know about Fire Emblem if they don't know about the shipping, also introduced relationships that would lead to, in the second generation of the game, kids being different.
When you're not gaming it, the way Fire Emblem does relationships is like a lot better too, because it's just two
people
characters
who work together.
who have a rapport, who are next to each other, will develop their social link. I don't know what else to call it. Their relationship. But yeah, and that feels like organic and naturalistic to the strategy RPG style. Whereas going into a menu and picking what person you want to have a date with is just not as engaging.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, Fire Emblem did it on the SNES. And also, people who think that shipping ruined Fire Emblem are idiots.
Well, those people are just like, they're like wargaming fans that play Fire Emblem for some reason. They'll always be disappointed in it.
Yeah. That's an old Japanese thing. It's been there for 20 years and at least a decade and a half before Luminous Arc got here. P.S. I can't stand Nikolai. Yeah, none of us can.
Fair.
Well, that's it for questions. And I think that's it for the episode. Does anyone else have anything they want to mention? Wow, this is a short episode, which I welcome because now we're going to get back on track. Thanks for joining us for this episode of DGC. Next month, we'll take a look at Treasure of the Rudras, an SNES game where words are power. This Square game draws from some concepts in Indian religions in creating a story about the last days of humanity as part of a cycle of rebirth, and it's noted for having spells generated from strings of kana, or in case of the translation, letters. We'll be playing it via the fan translation that came out in the early 2000s because there is no other way to play it in English. After that, we're playing Shadow Hearts, a PS2 game developed by Nautilus, then Saknoth, a company founded by Hiroki Kikuta, the composer on Secret of Mana, and staffed by former members of Squaresoft. The game is set in the year 1913 and officially starts the 3-game-strong PS2 exclusive Shadow Hearts series, though its PlayStation 1 predecessor, Kodelka, is set in the same universe. You can find our work on our website, grpgsaredead.fyi, or our Twitter at grpgsaredead, or individually at Invisible for me, at eThePen for Becky, and at WasNotWhyNot for Leroy. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/deadgenre. Also, please enjoy our new affiliated podcasts. I'm joined by Sam Howard on Myth and Ken as we work our way through the Witcher franchise from books to games, and hopefully soon, Leroy and John Thayer can once again be found on World Revolution, discussing independent and underground RPGs.
It should be back this month or next month.
Yeah, both can be found on our Libsyn feed. Join us next time for episode 30 of Dead Genre Chronicles. Good night, everybody.